They thought she was powerless, but her dad is the most dangerous man in the military. They thought she was just another quiet girl, but when Officer Wallace poured water on her in front of the school, they made the biggest mistake of their lives. It happened on a cold morning outside Jefferson High. Students were still arriving, some laughing, some yawning. Maya Carter walked through the gates with her backpack, trying to focus on her upcoming history test. She didn't even notice the police car parked by the sidewalk until Officer Todd Wallace stepped out. He smiled, but it wasn't the friendly kind. It was the kind that made her skin crawl. "Morning, Maya," he said loud enough for others to hear. He held up a water bottle, shaking it slightly. She stopped walking, unsure of what he was doing. "Thought you might be thirsty after your walk." Before she could say anything, he twisted the cap and, without warning, dumped the entire bottle over her head. Cold water soaked her face, her clothes, her backpack. A few students gasped. Others laughed nervously. Someone pulled out their phone. Maya just stood there, shocked, dripping, shaking with cold and disbelief. "Oops," Todd said flatly, like he'd dropped a pen. "Clumsy me." Maya clenched her fists but didn't say a word. She knew that's what he wanted, for her to yell, to lash out, to give him a reason to say she was dangerous. Instead, she locked eyes with him. "You're a disgrace to your badge," she said quietly. His fake smile dropped. He stepped in, close, his voice low and full of threat. "This is just the beginning, girl. Your kind needs to learn respect." Then he walked away. Maya didn't cry, not in front of him. She walked into the building, water dripping from her sleeves, straight, into the nearest bathroom. Her best friend Zoe found her there, handing her paper towels with shaking hands. "You need to tell someone," Zoe whispered. "I did," Maya said. "No one's listening." But someone else had seen it. Across the street, behind a dusty window, Mr. Wilson, their quiet neighbor, had caught the entire thing on his security camera. And this time, he saved the footage. That night, Maya finally told her mom everything. The threats, the lies, the fake accusations, the silence from the school. Her mother's face turned pale with anger, but Maya stopped her. "Don't go to the station, not yet. Let's wait, until Dad's home." 3 weeks felt like forever. The harassment didn't stop. It got worse. But Maya stayed quiet, collecting every moment, every comment, every look, just like her dad had taught her. And then, without warning, the front door opened one morning. Maya looked up to see her dad standing there, tired, unshaven, and heavier with jet lag, but home. Colonel Daniel Carter didn't need details. One look at his daughter's eyes, and he knew something had gone very wrong. They sat down that morning, and she told him everything. Every single thing. He didn't shout. He didn't storm off. He just listened. Then, in a voice Maya hadn't heard in a long time, he said, "We end this. Now." The next few days were a blur. Security cameras, quiet phone calls, old friends from the military showing up one by one. No questions asked. And then, the trap. Maya didn't want to be the bait, but she also didn't want anyone else to get hurt. So she stood in that abandoned gym alone, waiting. Todd came, with backup, with confidence. But he didn't know what he was walking into. Lights out, cameras on. And suddenly, he wasn't in control anymore. Maya's father stepped out of the shadows, calm, steady, not yelling, not threatening, just facts, truth, power without violence. They gave Todd a choice, confess or fall. He didn't confess. Instead, he tried one more desperate move. He and his men broke into the Carter home late one night, but they didn't find a scared family. They found trained warriors ready for every step. No one was hurt, No one needed to be. The whole thing was recorded. The threats, the lies, the abuse. By morning, Todd Wallace was in handcuffs, his badge gone, his control shattered. And Maya? She was no longer afraid. She walked back into Jefferson High the next week, head high, heart steady. No one laughed anymore. They nodded. Some said sorry. Some just moved out of the way. She didn't want fame. She wanted peace. But what she got was change. They thought she was just a quiet girl they could push around. But they didn't know her father. And they didn't know her. The school halls felt different after that day. Some students who used to nod at Maya now avoided her eyes. Others whispered behind her back. A few, the quiet ones, looked at her with something close to admiration, but no one said anything out loud. Maya didn't need their support. Not anymore. Her silence was armor now. She walked through those halls like she was walking through fire, steady, focused, and completely alone. At home, she tried to act normal. She told her mom it was just another bad day, that she was fine, and that the water incident wasn't that serious. But Lisa Carter knew better. Her daughter was tough, but she was also human. The way Maya flinched when the doorbell rang, or how she triple-checked the locks at night, it said everything her words didn't. They both avoided talking about it out loud, because they were both waiting for one person to come home. The one man they knew would not let this stand, Colonel Daniel Carter. Until then, Maya tried to carry on. She went to school, kept her grades up, smiled when she had to, and quietly took pictures of everything. The new scratches on her locker, the offensive graffiti that mysteriously appeared overnight, the anonymous notes stuffed into her backpack. It was all subtle. Just enough to make her uncomfortable, but not enough for the school to officially step in. Even Principal Winters tried to brush things off. "Teenagers can be cruel," he had said with a sigh, glancing nervously out the window. "We'll look into it, Maya." She left his office with a bitter taste in her mouth. "We'll look into it" meant nothing would happen. Not when the local police ran the town, and one of them had a nephew with a grudge. Ethan Wallace hadn't said much since the debate. But Maya noticed the way he smirked when she passed by. The way he always seemed to be standing just a little too close when she was alone. The way rumors suddenly started spreading about her being violent, unstable, or from a military family with problems. Zoe tried to keep her spirits up. "You know none of it's true," she'd whisper during lunch. "They're scared of you. That's why they're doing this." But Maya wasn't scared. Not really. She was angry. The worst moment came one afternoon when she stayed late at the school library. Her mom was on shift at the hospital, so she planned to walk home like usual. The sun had started setting, and the air had that cool, quiet stillness of early fall. That's when the police cruiser showed up, slowly trailing her from behind. She didn't look back, didn't break her stride, but her heart pounded. "Maya Carter," the voice called out. She stopped. Todd Wallace stepped out of the cruiser. His partner, Jake Miller, leaned against the hood, arms crossed. "We just want to talk," Todd said. "I have nothing to say," she replied firmly. Todd smiled again, that same chilling smile from the schoolyard. "We've had a complaint," he said casually, as if it was normal. "Something about a student threatening another. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" "I defended myself," Maya said. "There are witnesses." "Witnesses can be mistaken," Jake chimed in, chuckling. "Teenagers don't always remember things right." Todd stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Now we could make this. Go away, Maya. No reports, no school drama. You just have to do one thing." She stared at him. "Apologize," he said. "To Ethan. Publicly. Say you overreacted. Say you were stressed." Maya said nothing. Her jaw clenched. Todd's tone turned darker. Because if you don't, this could get ugly. And then, just like at school, he grabbed her arm. Not hard, but firm enough to send a message. "Listen to me carefully," he whispered. "This town has rules, and right now, your father isn't here to protect you." Maya froze. Not because she was afraid, but because she realized something important. They weren't just trying to scare her anymore. They believed they could break her. Later that night, as she sat in her room with a wet towel pressed against her arm, Maya opened her laptop and started a file titled, "Just in Case." She began logging every incident, every threat, every strange car that passed by the house. She knew her dad was coming home soon. And when he did, he'd want the full story. Because Maya wasn't the kind of girl who folded under pressure. She was the daughter of a man trained to finish fights others started. And when he got back, the rules in that town were going to change. Forever. 3 weeks. That's how long Maya had been counting the days, crossing them off on a small paper calendar she kept tucked in her desk drawer. 3 more boxes, and her dad would be home. She didn't cry anymore. She didn't flinch when the police cruiser slowed outside their house. She didn't react when Ethan and his friends snickered as she passed them in the hallway, whispering crazy under their breath. She just wrote everything down. Every insult, every fake rumor, every stare. Because her dad once told her, "You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to tell the truth, clearly, and have the proof." And she had proof. A lot of it. Still, some days were harder than others. Like the day she opened her locker and found all her textbooks soaked in paint. The inside was spray painted with a slur. The smell was sharp. Her hands shook when she pulled them back, stained black. A group of students stood nearby, laughing, watching. One of them, Ethan, leaned against the lockers with a satisfied grin. "Oops," he said, echoing his uncle's favorite word. She stared at him. "You did this? Me?" He held up his hands. "I've been in the library all morning. Ask anyone." She slammed the locker shut. "You won't break me." Ethan shrugged. "That's fine. Uncle Todd isn't trying to break you. He's just getting started." And Maya believed him. That night, she walked the long way home. Not because she was scared, but because she needed time to think. The wind was cold. The sky had turned gray. She passed by rows of houses that all looked the same. Quiet lawns, porch lights, forgotten bicycles. Everything looked normal, but she knew better. Halfway through the park, she heard the low rumble of tires. A police cruiser pulled up at the far end of the path, blocking the exit. Todd Wallace stepped out, and this time, he wasn't alone. His partner, Jake, got out on the other side, tossing something between his hands. Her school ID. "Found this in evidence lockup," Todd said with a smirk, as Maya stopped a few steps back, tense. "Strange. We also found a bag of something. Could get a girl expelled." "You planted it," Maya said immediately. Her voice was steady. "That's illegal." "Illegal's a strong word," Jake said. "Let's say flexible." They walked closer, slow and deliberate. "Your dad's not here, Maya," Todd said. "Your mom's working late. No one's watching. You sure you want to keep playing brave?" She didn't move. "You're not here for justice," she said. "You're here to scare me." Todd leaned in, his voice dropping. "You're right. I don't want justice. I want quiet. I want you to shut your mouth and apologize like a good little girl." She stepped back, clutching her backpack tighter. "I'm not apologizing for the truth." Todd's eyes narrowed. "Then maybe your whole family needs a little reminder of how things work in this town." They left her there, standing alone in the park as the cruiser pulled away. But what they didn't see was the old man standing just behind a curtain across the street. Mr. Wilson. This time, he had his phone out, and it was recording. The next morning, Maya sat across the kitchen table from her mom. She hadn't planned on saying anything, but the look in Lisa Carter's eyes, a mother's look that saw through silence, pulled the words out of her. She told her everything. The locker, the threats, the park. At first, Lisa said nothing. Then she pushed her chair back slowly and grabbed her car keys. "We're going to the station." "No," Maya said quickly. "We can't. Not yet." Lisa stared at her, shocked. "They assaulted you. They threatened you. We can't just stay silent." "Please, Mom," Maya said, tears forming now. "Just wait. Dad's home in 3 days. Just 3. Lisa hesitated. Her jaw clenched. Then, finally, she nodded. 3 days. If anything else happens before that, anything, we go straight to the state police. No more waiting. I promise, Maya whispered. But later that night, as she looked out the window, she saw the same cruiser rolling past their house again. Once, twice, 3 times. No headlights, no sound, just a dark car in the shadows, circling, watching, waiting. Maya stood behind the curtain and watched it disappear into the night. Her hands were cold, her breath shallow. But her heart? Her heart was on fire because they thought they could break her. They thought she was alone, but they had no idea. Her father was already on his way home, and when he got there, everything would change. The knock on the front door was soft, not loud, not rushed. Maya was sitting at the kitchen table, barely touching her cereal. Her mom was dressed for her early shift, scribbling notes on a patient chart. The house was quiet except for the ticking wall clock. Then, another knock. Lisa looked at Maya, confused. "You expecting someone?" Maya shook her head and stood up cautiously, her heart already speeding up. She peeked through the peephole and gasped. She flung the door open. There he stood, Colonel Daniel Carter, slightly unshaven, wearing a plain brown jacket and jeans, a duffel bag over one shoulder, his boots still dusty from travel. "Dad?" Maya whispered, tears rising instantly. "Hey, sunshine," he said, smiling as he dropped the bag. "Mission wrapped early. Thought I'd surprise you." Lisa rushed over, wrapping him in a tight hug. Maya followed, burying her face in his chest. For a moment, everything was still. Then Daniel stepped back, looking between them. He scanned their faces, noticing the worry lines, the dark circles under Maya's eyes, the tension in his wife's jaw. His smile faded. His voice lowered. "What happened?" Maya glanced at her mom. Lisa gave a silent nod. "Tell him." So she did. She told him everything, from the debate, to the locker, to the rumors, the park, the cruiser outside the house, every look, every threat. Every time they tried to make her feel small, she expected him to get angry, maybe slam his fist on the table. Instead, he just listened, calm, focused, the way a man listens when he's preparing for war. When she finished, the room was silent. Daniel finally spoke, quietly, coldly. "His name is Todd Wallace?" Maya nodded. Daniel nodded once, the same way he used to before stepping into a mission briefing. Then he looked at Lisa. "You're still working long shifts?" Lisa nodded. "We're short-staffed." "Why?" "Then she's not going to school for a few days. I'll take care of it. I need her here." "Dad, I've got a test," Maya started. "You're staying home," Daniel said gently but firmly. "You've done enough. Let me handle it now." The rest of that day, Daniel was a man on a mission. He went down to his home office, the room no one entered without knocking, and shut the door. Maya could hear his deep voice on the phone. The names he said meant nothing to her, but the tone did. Serious, precise, lethal without sounding loud. He came out an hour later with a list of supplies, cameras, hard drives, a printer. He took Maya to the electronics store and had her walk him through the neighborhood as if nothing was wrong. As they walked, he asked calm questions. Where the cruiser usually parked, which direction it came from, who saw what. Maya answered, feeling safer with every step. By sunset, there were hidden cameras placed around their home, high up, under eaves and behind vents. One inside a light fixture. Another disguised in the mailbox. Military grade, motion activated, infrared ready. Everything they do now, Daniel said. We record. That night, as Maya brushed her teeth, she heard her dad in the garage. She peeked in and saw him assembling a reinforced storage chest, the kind she remembered from base housing when she was little. Inside were thick folders, labeled, sorted, one for Todd Wallace, one for Jake Miller, one for the school, one titled, Witnesses. He was building a case, not just to fight back, but to expose everything. Dad, Maya asked from the doorway, what are you going to do? He looked up, hands steady. We're not just stopping this, we're ending it. Clean. But he stood up, walked over, and placed a hand on her shoulder. You've already fought your war, Maya. Now it's my turn. The next morning, Daniel showed up at the Jefferson Police Department, unannounced. He walked in without a uniform. Just jeans, boots, and the quiet authority of someone who knew how to make people nervous without raising his voice. I'm here to speak with Officer Wallace, he told the front desk officer. Name? The young cop asked, flipping through a visitor log. Colonel Daniel Carter. The pen paused mid-scribble. Give me a moment, the officer said quickly. A few minutes later, Todd Wallace came through the back door. His smile was smug. He reached out a hand. Daniel didn't take it. Let's talk, he said. Todd led him into a side room and shut the door. Maya never knew what was said in that room. Her father never told her, but when he came home, he was calm, even smiling a little. Lisa asked, Is it over? He shook his head. Not yet. Men like him don't stop when they're challenged. They escalate. He looked at Maya. And that's exactly what I'm counting on. That night, Maya lay in bed, wide awake. The house was quiet. Too quiet. But she didn't feel afraid anymore. For the first time in weeks, she knew something for certain. She wasn't alone, and her father, the man the military called when things went very wrong, was now home and watching. Maya never forgot the way her father looked the next morning. Not angry, not loud, just focused, cold. Every movement precise. Every word deliberate. The kind of calm that only came from experience. The kind that said, a storm is coming. And I'm already standing in the middle of it. Daniel Carter had shifted. No longer the smiling dad at the breakfast table. He had slipped back into something older, deeper, the version of him Maya had only seen in glimpses. The quiet professional. The strategist. And now he had a mission. Expose everything and end the silence that had let men like Todd Wallace thrive for so long. By sunrise, his former teammates had already started checking in. Ramirez, the tech expert, now a cybersecurity consultant, called first. I can get into the department's server logs, he said, not asking for permission. If they've been hiding complaints, I'll find them. Next came Lawson and Thomas, both recently retired but still sharp as ever. Just say where you need us, Lawson said. You don't even need to say why. Daniel simply replied, Jefferson, quiet entry, stay off the grid. Within 24 hours, they arrived in town. No uniforms, no badges, just discipline, training, and a shared understanding. This wasn't just about Maya anymore. This was about accountability, the kind of justice that didn't rely on broken systems. Maya was stunned when she saw them gathered around the living room table, laptops open, maps laid out, printouts scattered. These are your old teammates? She whispered. Daniel smiled briefly. They're more than that. They're family. One by one, he walked her through the plan. They weren't going to confront Todd directly. Not yet. They were going to make him act first. He's too arrogant to stay quiet, Daniel explained. He believes he's untouchable. That gives us the advantage. Maya nodded, watching her father move across the room, marking something on a map of the town. How do we get him to show his hand? She asked. Daniel looked at her seriously. We use bait. Maya paused. You mean me? I won't force you, he said gently. But yes, you're the one he's focused on. If we pretend you've got evidence that could ruin him, he'll come. And he'll bring company. That's when we expose everything. Maya was quiet for a long time. Her eyes drifted to the stack of photos and notes her father had compiled. Her locker, the cruiser outside, the footage Mr. Wilson had captured from across the street. It was all there. She looked back at her dad. I'm in. Daniel didn't smile. He just nodded once. We'll keep you safe. The location was chosen carefully. The old gym behind the abandoned middle school. No alarms. Just one overhead light, broken windows, and a lot of dust. It was quiet, forgotten, and perfect for what they needed. A fake message was planted online, through a private forum known to be monitored by Todd's circle. A tip that Maya Carter would be meeting someone at the gym to hand off new evidence. Anonymous. Just vague enough to sound real. He'll bite, Daniel said confidently. His ego won't let it go. 2 hours later, they had confirmation. Todd had forwarded the message to Jake Miller, then to 2 more officers, all from his personal phone, which Ramirez had cloned earlier that day. They're talking like it's a cleanup job, Ramirez said, scrolling through the messages. He thinks she's bluffing. Perfect, Daniel said. Let him prove it. That night, Maya stood alone in the center of the gym. One flickering light buzzed above her. The dust in the air sparkled with every blink. She wore a small wire under her hoodie. A panic button sat in her pocket. She kept her breathing slow, just like her dad taught her. You control the moment, he'd said earlier. You're not waiting for something to happen. You're preparing to witness it. That's different. Through the small earpiece in her ear, she heard her father's voice. 3 cars incoming. ETA. 4 minutes. You've got this, kid. Her heartbeat kicked up, but her hands stayed steady. Outside, Daniel and his team were already in position. 1 on the roof, 2 behind the gym in the overgrown field, 1 at the side entrance. They didn't have guns. That wasn't the mission. They had cameras, audio recorders, body cams. Because this wasn't revenge. This was evidence. This was truth. The sound of tires rolling over gravel echoed into the gym. Doors slammed. Boots crunched dirt. Then the front doors creaked open. Todd Wallace stepped into the light. Jake behind him. 2 other men fanned out to the sides. Well, well, Todd called out. All alone, Maya? She didn't answer, just looked at him. Calmly, he laughed. You think anyone cares what you have? You're just a scared little girl trying to act brave. Maya's voice was clear, calm, measured. I don't need to act brave, Todd. I just need you to keep talking. He took a step forward. Where's the evidence? You're looking at it, she said, pointing to her chest. And right on. Cue. The gym lights cut out. Total darkness. Yells. Flashlights flicking on. Panic in their voices. Then a deeper voice rang out across the gym. Wrong move. 1 red emergency light flickered on. Daniel stepped into the glow, flanked by his team. No weapons. Just presence. The cops froze, and for the first time since this all started, Maya saw something she'd never seen in Todd Wallace's eyes before. Fear. For a long moment, no one moved. Red light bathed the gym in an eerie glow. Dust floated through the air like ash. Officer Todd Wallace stood frozen, his flashlight beam shaking slightly in his hand. His two fellow officers scanned the room, unsure if they were under attack or exposed. And standing directly across from them, calm and motionless, was Colonel Daniel Carter. Not in uniform, not armed, just standing, watching, unflinching. "You've made a mess, Todd," Daniel said, his voice low but clear. "But it ends tonight." Todd recovered his posture quickly, flashing his trademark smirk, the same one he wore when he poured water on Maya, the same one he used to dismiss people like they were nothing. "What is this?" he said with a laugh. "You trying to play soldier? This is a police matter. You've got no authority here." "Maybe not in uniform," Daniel replied, "but I've got something better." He nodded once, and from behind the gym's back wall, Ramirez stepped into view, holding a tablet. One tap. Then came the sound. Todd's voice, echoing across the gym, recorded just hours earlier. "She's bluffing. Just scare her. No bruises. We'll say she made threats, escalate if we have to." It played on loop, then cut to another clip. "We've done worse. Just need her quiet." "Don't worry, I've got the DA eating out of my hand." Jake's head dropped. One of the other officers muttered, "Oh my God." Maya stepped forward now from the shadows and held up her phone. Another clip played. "Your daddy ain't here to protect you. This town has rules. My rules." Todd's smirk faded. "You've been recorded for weeks," Maya said quietly. "Every threat, every lie, every time you thought no one was watching." Ramirez spoke now. "You know how many people reported you, Todd? We've got files going back 5 years. You buried complaints. You falsified reports. You ran this town like it was your own private kingdom." "You're done," Daniel said, walking forward slowly. Todd instinctively reached toward his holster, but found nothing. His weapon had been removed when he walked in. He looked behind him and realized for the first time his backup was gone. Jake was stepping back, slowly, hands raised. "I didn't know it was this deep," he mumbled. "I didn't know you were setting her up. I'm not part of this." One of the other officers dropped his flashlight and raised both hands. "We're out," he said. "We didn't sign up for this." Maya could barely believe what she was seeing. They were unraveling, right in front of her. Todd turned back to Daniel, rage building in his eyes. "You think you're gonna bring me down with a couple of voice clips? I've got friends. I've got pull." Daniel didn't flinch. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a thin folder. And then, he tossed it on the floor between them. Inside, photos, names, financial records, complaint letters, signed affidavits, a full case, already prepared. "This," Daniel said, "is already in the hands of the state police, the FBI, and the governor's office." "And in 10 minutes, Maya added, local news outlets are getting a copy, too." "You think people care about a girl getting her feelings hurt?" Todd shouted. "You think they care about a kid who couldn't take a little pressure?" Maya stepped forward, looking him dead in the eyes. No fear, no hesitation. "I think they'll care about a cop who threatened a teenager, framed her, lied to protect his nephew, and illegally entered her home, especially when it's all on camera." And then the gym doors burst open. But this time, it wasn't Todd's men. It was the state police. 4 officers entered quickly, followed by Detective Sarah Reynolds from the Internal Affairs Division. She looked directly at Todd. "Officer Wallace," she said, "you're under arrest. Step away from the girl. Hands where we can see them." He turned toward her slowly, but something in his face shifted. No more arrogance, no more control, just fear, and a flicker of understanding that this was the end. "You've been lying for years," Reynolds continued. "But the lies stopped the moment you messed with the wrong family." Daniel raised his hands slightly and backed away. Maya followed him, standing by his side as the officers moved in. Todd didn't fight. Not anymore. He just looked at Maya as they cuffed his wrists. "This isn't over," he said under his breath. But Maya didn't blink. She looked at him and replied, calm and certain, "Yes, it is." As they led him away, Jake walked up to Reynolds. "I'll talk," he said. "Everything. I'll tell you what he made us do. Just, I want immunity." Reynolds nodded once. "Start talking." Outside, the night air was cold, quiet, clean. Daniel wrapped an arm around Maya's shoulders as the cruisers pulled away. "I'm proud of you," he said softly. "I was scared," she admitted. "That's what made you strong," he replied. "Not that you didn't feel fear, but that you kept standing anyway." At home, Lisa was waiting. When Maya walked through the door and told her what happened, her mother wrapped her in the longest hug she'd ever known. They didn't cry. They didn't collapse. They just stood there, holding each other, breathing. Because for the first time in weeks, they finally could. The next morning, the news broke. Local cop arrested after targeting military family's teen daughter. Maya's face wasn't in the photo, but her voice and her courage echoed in every sentence. What had started as harassment had ended as a movement, and the girl they thought they could silence, she was just getting started. The air in Jefferson felt different, not louder, not more dramatic. Just quieter. The kind of quiet that follows a storm, where everything's still standing, but nothing is the same. For the first time in weeks, Maya Carter walked to school without looking over her shoulder. The weight that had sat on her chest for so long had finally lifted, but it left something behind. Purpose. When she stepped into Jefferson High, the hallway went silent. People didn't whisper this time. They moved aside. Not out of fear, but respect. Some nodded, some offered shy smiles. Even the teachers looked at her differently now. Not like she was causing trouble, but like someone who had revealed how blind they'd been. Principal Winters was gone. Resigned 2 days after Todd Wallace's arrest, the new interim principal, Ms. Howard, was already holding meetings on school safety and student rights. Maya wasn't trying to be a symbol. She just wanted to pass her midterms and go back to normal. But normal wasn't something she could return to, because she had changed, because the town had changed, and because deep down, she knew that silence had allowed this to happen in the first place. Now it was her turn to speak. That afternoon, she stood in front of the entire student body, not because she wanted to, but because Ms. Howard had asked her to open the school's first student-led civil justice assembly. Her hands shook slightly as she stepped up to the microphone. Then she looked out into the crowd and saw her mom near the back, still in her scrubs, standing tall. Her dad by the exit, arms crossed, just watching, steady as always. Maya took a breath. "My name is Maya Carter," she began, and then she told them everything. Not about revenge, not about shame, but about what it felt like to be targeted, about how people looked away when things got uncomfortable, about how silence, even from good people, is part of the problem. She talked about fear, about dignity, about how standing up doesn't mean shouting the loudest. It means refusing to step back, even when your voice is shaking. And she ended with this: "Some people thought I was powerless, but I was never alone. And neither are you. If someone is abusing their power, say something. Tell someone. Keep telling them until you're heard, because your voice matters, even when it's quiet." There was silence, then applause, then a standing ovation. Afterward, Zoe ran up and hugged her, crying. Students who'd ignored her for months now shook her hand. A freshman girl whispered, "I'm going through something too. Thank you." And for the first time, Maya realized this wasn't just about her anymore. That night, Her father sat across from her at the kitchen table. The storm had passed, but he still had that same old quiet focus. "I got a call today," he said. "From DC." Maya raised an eyebrow. "They're offering me a civilian position, strategic oversight, domestic protection programs." She paused. "Would we have to move?" He shrugged. "Eventually. End of the school year, maybe." She nodded, thinking it over. "Georgetown has a good pre-law program." Daniel looked at her closely. "Law?" She smiled a little. "I've been thinking, maybe I want to be a civil rights attorney." Daniel didn't say anything at first. Then he leaned back in his chair, nodded slowly, and smiled. "I think you'd be damn good at it." The next few weeks moved fast. Todd Wallace was denied bail. Jake Miller made a full statement. 3 more. Officers turned themselves in after realizing the case against them was airtight. The mayor publicly apologized for turning a blind eye. The Jefferson Police Department launched a full internal review. Half the department was put under new leadership, and a community oversight board was formed. Lisa Carter spoke at a city council meeting, describing what families go through when those in power abuse their positions. Mr. Wilson submitted his videos to the state as official evidence, and was later offered a consulting role to advise on misconduct review panels. Even Ethan Wallace, the nephew who started it all, began to change. Quietly. He apologized to Maya during lunch one day, away from the crowd. He didn't ask for forgiveness, just understanding. "I really thought he was a hero," he said. "He wasn't. I'm sorry." Maya didn't say much, just nodded. Sometimes justice isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. On the last day of school before winter break, Maya found herself alone in the library. She opened her laptop and began writing a college essay. The prompt was, "Describe a moment when you stood up for something important." She stared at the screen for a while, then began to type. "I didn't stand up because I was fearless. I stood up because I couldn't stay silent. I stood up because the people meant to protect me became the ones I needed protecting from. And I stood up because I knew that if I didn't, someone else might suffer in silence tomorrow." Justice doesn't always look like a courtroom. Sometimes it looks like a 17-year-old girl hitting record on her phone. Sometimes it looks like refusing to apologize for being right. And sometimes it looks like trusting the quiet power in your family, your voice, your truth. They thought they could break me. They didn't know I was a Carter. Later that evening, she and her dad stood on the porch, sipping cocoa in the cold. "Everything feels peaceful," she said. "It is," he replied. "For now." "What? If someone like Todd comes back someday?" Daniel looked up at the stars. "Then someone like you will be ready." Maya smiled, feeling stronger than she ever had before. Not because the battle was over, but because now she knew how to fight. With truth, with courage, with calm, relentless, unstoppable purpose.